everyone, and welcome to another Pixel Game Maker tutorial. Today we're going to go over a Zelda-like load screen, and this is going to be particularly from a title menu. So you would have a title screen, you would select load, and then you're going to have up to 3 slots to be able to show data from those slots, but still not be in that game. And we can accomplish something like that by using load-a-file runtime action and just loading the variables and the switches, which we'll see. I'm going to explain this system from this sample project, Still Sword Story, and the reason why is they did a decent job in their load scene getting this together. You can actually export the load scene to get a base in your project, and it comes with every editor, so everyone has access to this. So if you do not have this game, you can go to the sample tab and you can scroll down. I think it's down a ways now, and you can find Still Sword Story. Click on it and it will become a project for you to sample through. So I'm going to re-enter, going to get some things that I'm going to show real quick so that we are focused. There we go. And this is primarily where we're going to be focusing on is the load menu object. It's in the systems folder, all right? But I want to show you how it handles first, like how it actually works while you're playing. And so to do that, we're just going to play test for a little bit. I'll skip some of this stuff, but you'll see that we have, if we go to the load scene, we'll see that it's, we can now scroll through the slots and it's showing each slot is empty. And that makes sense because this is my first time starting it up. And now we can start a game, and then it says to select a slot. All right, so when you select a slot, that's when it would say, okay, your file slot is this variable. And if you're wondering what I mean by file slot, I got a video showing how the save load system actually works. All right, so I'm going to pick slot 1 here, choose casual gamer, and I'll skip the cutscene. This is a great demo, by the way, if you ever looking for something to do. I'm going to kill this first guy. I'm going to get 2 gems. This gem will be kind of our tracker of if we're in the right slot or not. So I got 2 gems on this one. And then to just know that I saved, I'm going to exit to map. They show a little feather there when you're saving. So I know I'm saved now. And I'm going to reset the game. And now when we go into the load scene, you see that we have the sword level, the potions that amount, all the levels of anything that we have, our current health, and look, our gem value is 2. And now if I go to file slot 2, it's empty. And the cool thing is that we are technically not in any of these games, but yet it's loading the information, all right? Okay, so we could load from here, and that would be perfectly fine. But I'm going to go back. I'm going to start a new game on file slot 2 this time. And of course I'm casual because I am actually not that great at games. All right, so now we're gonna go. So I got 2 gems, 2 more, and I'll just get a couple more. There we go. And now I'm going to exit to the map. So I know we saved. Restart the game. And now go into load menu. And so we'll see file slot 1 still has the 2 gems. File slot 2 now is showing 6 gems. All right, and it would obviously change if we played longer, whatever. Okay, so that's the system that we want to get to, right? As a Zelda-like load system, that's what we want to achieve. And then if I was to go to start again before we stop this, and I was to select file slot 1, you'll see that it says selecting this file will be used to start the game. Is that okay? Oh, okay. I thought it gave a warning saying, hey, you are going to delete this file, and maybe that's something where we could talk about where we could add that. All right, so let's get started now in diving into exactly what is getting this system like the way it is. And to start, I just want to show you exactly how he set up his scenes, okay? So he has a, you start off in the title screen, and when you select load, it then takes you to the title load screen, all right? And this is where you saw the file slots. For instance, this is where his title load, where the images are for the file slot 1, file slot 2, and it's also running the logic as far as the inputs and stuff like that. And then you'll also see that he has text, and you'll see here's one text. If I scroll down, you'll see here's another text. Here's the sword level, the magic level, and you'll see that he just goes through all of these um, texts here. Let's just say we go to like potion, right? And if we edit the base object here, we can see it takes us to a show text runtime action, which is using the variables to show the number of that variable value. All right, so that's how he is setting up his load screen. And then in the transitions, what happens is so from the title screen, you go to the load screen, and then when you do select a file slot, it actually takes you to the map, which then you can select your level that you want to do. So how he set it up was when you select load, it will take you to stage select, and then you can go to any stage that you were currently on or previously on. Now, how a typical Zelda-like would probably work is it would just take you to where you were or to a set location or whatever, but your progress would still be saved. So just note there is a few differences. I just wanted to talk this through so that you can really understand this and make it custom to your needs. All right. Now, if we go back to the title load here and we just click on objects and see the title load object that he has, let's go and edit that base object now. And we'll see that he gives the image of the uh, file slots here. So from the check, which is doing nothing, it's just running unconditionally to file slot 1. We'll see that he uses file slot 1 motion. And then if we go to 2, it'll be file slot 2 motion. 3 will be the file slot 3 motion. All right, so that's how he's setting up the file slot look. And so now let's dive into what exactly is happening. So when you are on the file slot 1, as soon as you get onto it, it's going to change the file slot variable to file slot 1. All right. And then it's running a check basically in the area if it's empty or not. And it's running it through this one right here. Nope. Where was that one? Might have been this one. Yeah. So file empty is the object that it's running if it's empty, because we can see the empty right here. All right. So what's happening is that this object is on the scene. It's right here, file empty. Okay. We can't see it because he actually is just not showing it for right now. But what's happening is that it's there, and if the variable change of file check is off, then it's going to show it. And then if file check is on, then it's going to get rid of it. So if file slot 1 is empty, it's going to show that. And if it's not empty, it's going to show this. And if we remember from the save load video, as soon as you change the file slot, that check file right here, that check file will turn on automatically if there is data or not. So if there is data, it'll turn on. And if there's no data, then it will turn off. Okay. So since file slot 1 would have no data, then it would make sense that it would be off and go to empty. All right. So that's how those file slots will show if it's empty or not. Each file slot does that. So now if it is empty, he just has a little thing that if you try to click load while it's empty, that it's not going to work. Okay, so if you try to press A, and remember this is a change if all condition, so if you try to press A and check file is off, meaning that there is no file, then it's just going to play a probably a cancel tone, and it's going to go after some time, it's going to go right back into file slot 1. All right, so this is just the, hey, this file slot's empty. Da-dun, da-dun, da-dun. All right, and And it does the same thing. So if you press down, which is this button right here, so if you press down, it's going to play a sound effect that you are now going to file slot 2. And then the same thing. It changes the file slot to now 2. If that check is true or not, then it's going to either show empty or show nothing, which by showing nothing, remember, it lets all of this stuff become visible. I believe this is tile set, by the way. Or no, I could be wrong on that. It must be object. All right. So anyway, and then if it is off, if check a file is off, then it's going to play the cancel tone and go back. Same with 3, same exact setup. And then the only difference is if you press up from 3, it goes to 2. And this is your basic input logic right here. All right, so this section is just if the file slot is empty, okay? So now let's go to what happens if you do have a file slot on. So we changed the file slot 1 and the check file turns on now. So we'll see that if this is just a normal all conditions are met, if file check is on, so there is data, it's instantly going to move to this file slot area, okay? Now you can get to file slot 2 by clicking down. You'll play that same sound effect right here, and then it will move into file slot 2, and then file slot 2 will now check if it's on or off. If it is on, then it will go to this section. So this section is the area of if there is a file slot or if there is data in that file slot, okay? But it will always transfer to this one, but it will always lead to one of these if there's data. So hopefully that makes sense. There's other ways to structure than this, but this one actually visually I can see how it makes sense. So we'll just stick with this. Now let's get into the most important thing that this section is doing, okay? This is the actual active, there is live data in this file slot section. And the thing that it's running is it's running load a file. And if we click into it, it's only loading the common variables and the common switches. All right, now if you want a overview of what load a file does, I do have a video that goes over this. And what we did find out in that video is that it literally only loads the common variables and switches. So we can get a good idea of the progress of this file just by loading the data for that file. All right, so again, just to keep repeating this, you come to a file slot, you change the file slot number. If it's has data in that file slot by running the check or by the check file automatically coming on, it then goes to file slot 1, which then loads all of the data in that file. And because there's a file, that empty is not showing, and then the scene is showing the text variables of that data. Okay, I hope this is making a little more sense. All right, and each slot is doing that. And they can only get to these files from the respected input that they go to. So that's the reason why they can just say load a file without specifying the file again, because it's only going to load a file after it's already changed to file slot 2. So there'll be no issues in the way that this is running. Okay, so now let's go to some of the options that we get for being in this section with the load a file ran. All right, so we're seeing all of our variable numbers, our gem counts, all this stuff. And now what we can do is let's start with delete, okay? So he says that if you can press Y, then you'll come to a delete little pop-up thing that shows hey, do you want to delete this file? If you click back, or B, I guess, if you click B, then it's going to take you back to the appropriate file slot. And it does that by determining what the file slot was. So it runs a check saying, hey, if it's equal to 1, then it's going to go back to 1. Okay. If you do confirm by pressing Y, then it's going to run the delete switch, which is going to delete your file. In this case, file slot 1, if we came down from file slot 1. The next thing it's going to do is it's going to go and it's going to reset all of the switches. Now, this is important because we need to remember that, let's back up here for a sec. When we loaded the file, we loaded all the common variables and the common switches, all right? So even though you're in a new game, all those variables are changed to be the one that you selected, okay? Now, when you delete the file, you want all of those switches and variables to reset. So there's a cool method, and I'll just show you real quick. You can go to reset switches, and then you can click on the plus here, and you can actually select all of them. And then you can even go to the switches, and then you can also select all of them. So now you have everyone selected, all right? And then you can click OK, and then it's going to show all the switches are going to reset to their default value how you have them here in the editor. And you click OK. That's exactly pretty much what he did. So he's resetting all of the stuff because it's going to take you to that file slot that you just deleted. All right. So we don't want any variables being saved from that. And I hope that makes sense. So yeah, delete it, reset all the variables, because even though you deleted the file slot, those variables are still stashed in this current project. They're still, you kind of took them out, but you haven't got rid of them yet. You've only deleted the file now. All right, so you reset the variables and switches, and then because it's slot 1, I'm sure that's what it's checking. Yep, slot 1, it's going to send you back up to file slot 1, which now, because it's empty, because you deleted it, you only have this option now, and the file is going to show empty. And that process is going to be true whether that was file slot 1, file slot 2, or file slot 3, as far as deleting the file goes. All right, so now let's see what happens when you press that you want to load the file. All right, so when you press A, it's going to play a sound, and then it's going to end the scene, which is then going to take you to the map stage select, all right? And you'll be able to select the stages depending on where you were in that load file. All right, so that is exactly how the system works. It's actually not a bad, as far as like visually looking at it, it's set up fairly simple. It's got all bases covered, so you can select the image, you can then load, and then you can delete accordingly. And then lastly, be able to transfer to the starting point that you need. And if you didn't want to go to a stage select, this is where, if we like skip this, this is where you could run either you could run a common load file right here, and then that would load the file more completely instead of just the common switch and variables. This would basically take you to where you last saved, kind of checkpoint. Or you could do another load file, in which case you load everything. And then you could even have a sequence, fade to black for a little bit. And then you could just actually load the whole file this time. All right, so that's how you would do it if you wanted to resume exactly where you last left off. So yeah, we have a bunch of different methods here. Hopefully this made sense. If there's any questions, drop them in the comments. Visit us at Discord. We'll help you out, explain this, and get you started. This is one of those important systems that every game pretty much needs if you're going to need to save. Unless you want to be old school platformers and give password inputs. But yeah, with that said, I'll see you at the next video.